Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "O you who believed, fear Allah. Put a barrier between yourself and the hellfire, and be with the true." Am I with the true? Do I am I surrounded by people who are true, like they have a real relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or am I surrounded by crazy people? I'm not saying kuffar are really bad. Astaghfirullah, never look at kuffar. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just trying to say like you need a survival network, right? What's your survival network, right? So Himyar, went on that retreat. There's other people who are like, said that was their lifeline. That was their last straw. It's like their things like if you didn't have that, she's gonna be gone, right? And so every single one of us, we are weak. We need company. We need good ambience. We need a good environment. We need good friends. And our kids need good friends. Our kids need a good environment. And it's like you have to kind of like fight for that. Like you have to like, be here, be there. Um, uh, you know, Either like continually like bring your family to places. Otherwise, it's like you just sink. You just sink. That's how it is. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, the plan, right? We can't change our lives, but we can make a plan. So, Sidi Hamyar, brother Hamyar, he went to Maqasid, see what it's like. That's it's a middle ground. I remember speaking to Sheikh Abdul Karim Yahya, some of you may know about. He's originally from the Bay Area, and talking about the issue of women traveling by themselves, right? So the default is a woman, she can't travel by herself. She has to, that's the default, right? There's many other scenarios, but the default is a woman cannot travel by herself. But 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 she can travel for herself if it's obligatory, right? She has to do an operation, she has to flee from a country, something like that. So they mentioned specifically being with one's teacher, being with one's ustad. And so I asked Sheikh Abdul Karim about this. I was like, what is this like? What do you mean being with your ustad? I mean, you can just listen to him online, right? Like you can find out about like, okay. And he said, no, it's not like that. He said, like, I was in Yemen, so Sheikh Abdul Karim Yahya, he translates for Habib Omar. And he's like, I was in Yemen and they have this thing called the Rawda, which is like an intensive, okay? And they basically open the floodgates, anybody can come from anywhere, right? And so what you have is some sister coming from Singapore, another sister coming from Ukraine, another sister coming from France, sisters traveling by themselves. And he said, like, you see these sisters turn up as one person and they leave as another. They're not the same person. They're not the same person. And it's like, you don't, it's very, very important sohbah, you know, or at least periodic, right? You go and see these people, you visit these people. So many brothers in the Bay Area moving to Union City, right? Same thing with Sheikh Tamim Ahmadi and others like that, right? But you need these people. So highly advise, like put that in your schedule. Where who, physically, myself and my kids, who are they around this week? Like, what are they going to see? Okay, visit this person, visit that person. You know, increase your iman with people, right? And it doesn't have to be a formal lesson, but like people of the same people who are better than you, inshallah. So you say my classes aren't that good, Hamir? Yeah, I'm just saying this out of tawada, astaghfirullah, I'm joking. Um, yeah, it's not the same, subhanAllah, it's not the same.
It's not the same, but this is also another lifeline. Don't sell
Yeah,
yourself short, obviously,
yeah, it,
but
it is it's a lifeline, but again, it's like wipes. It's like wipes when you can't make tayammum, when you can't make wudu. Like what or using like, or I don't know, something like that. It's not the same. That's not how the deen happens, right? It's not how the deen happens, right? It's like visiting your spouse in prison over 20 years. Okay, inshallah, the marriage will stay, inshallah, right? But that's not how a normal marriage is. And so our marriage to our iman, right? We're developing, like if you think of marriage, multiple levels of multiple emotions, multiple practical things. That's our iman. It's like this whole relationship with iman, right? It takes time. Khair, inshallah. We talk about these different gods. We spoke about that. Okay, so let's go to here then. So now Alhamdulillah. And a lot of things, Allah makes things easier than you imagine, right? So I remember one of my teachers, I was 16. My teacher said, inshallah, we'll see you soon. And I was like, no, you won't, because you're in another country, you know? And so, um, and so like, and then like within like a few months I was there, like things, Allah will make things happen, right? Allahu ala kulli shayin qadir, right? Just make the intention, say, yeah, Allah, please surround me with good people. That's all I ask you, Allah. I don't know how, I don't know where, I don't know when, I don't know who. It can change different kind of things, but yeah, Allah surround me with good people. Okay, khair, let's start, inshallah. So it says, so Quraysh had an idol by a well in the middle of the Kaaba called Hubal, and they say adopted Isaf and Na'ila by the place of Zamzam, sacrificing beside them. They were a man, Isaf, and a woman of Jurham, Na'ila. Isaf ibn Baghi and Na'ila ibn Dik, right? So Isaf, the son of oppression, right? And Na'ila, the one who achieves, the son of the rooster, who were guilty of sexual relations in the Kaaba, and so God transformed them into two stones. So notice, right? Notice where we are in society now, right? So, okay, the Epstein files come out, whatever, and everyone's like, oh, shock horror. That's just, it's yes and no. It's yes and no. In reality, there is there is this obsession with zina specifically, right? Being bad, being naughty, right? Doing stuff you shouldn't do. That's an obsession, right? That people are really, really interested in. And it's getting to the point where it's valued, you know? It's getting to the point where it's actually valued. Okay. And so this is where we're heading, because you have to understand society, right? Society is heading in that direction where this is actually valued. So here, look, your idols commit zina. Like, can you see this shift, right? This is what they're worshiping, right? They committed zina in the Kaaba, and God transformed them into two stones, allegedly. Whether God changed them into stones or not, it's irrelevant. The point is, your gods, right? Your gods or your idols, things you look up to, are emblems of debauchery, right? I remember my friend telling me this. I didn't even know who she was. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. He's in the, I don't know if it's still there. May Allah protect him. But next to the Kaaba, right? Number one, they build these huge malls, right? And so he was like, "Oh yeah, like I was in the clock tower. I think is that a mall there? Clock tower. I haven't been for a long time. May Allah send me back." But he's like, "Yeah, there was like a Paris Hilton, thing." And he's like, "Do you know who she is?" I'm like, "Not really." And like, do you know what she's famous for? I was like, no. He's like, she's famous for like her porn film that came out when she was 16 or something like that. That's how she got like famous. And maybe I'm mixing somebody up. Who knows? But the point is like these are the people we look up to. Like, oh my God, she's so beautiful. Oh my God, I want to be like her, right? And it's like that's your idol, you know? Or like let's like hip hop lyrics, right? It's like what does it talk about, right? And it's like these kind of things, these are your idols, you look up to these things, right? And it's like this is really bad, right? There's nothing good about it, but it's like, you know, but that's the direction we're going where it's actually cool, right? It's not a problem, right? So look at America now where it's cool, but just not openly cool. Go to Europe where it's like it's not even a problem, right? I'm not talking about England, but like it's not even a problem. Like, oh my God, so and so committed zina, like, okay, and like what does it even mean? It's not even an issue. So you get like it's unaccepted publicly, but under the people like it really, and then like it's not an issue, and then it's going to be valued. It's like this is actually valued, right? So here mentions with this chain, he says Abdullah ibn Abi Bakr ibn Amr ibn Hazm. This is a key, one of the key teachers of Imam Malik as well in Medina. Okay, so he's a key. Abdullah ibn Abu Bakr ibn Muhammad ibn Amr ibn Hazm. Um, he heard of, where is this? On the authority of Amrah, right? This is the maid of Aisha, bint Abdurrahman ibn Sa'ad ibn Zurara. She said, I heard Aisha saying, We always heard that Isaf and Na'ila were a man and woman of Jurham who copulated in the Kaaba. So God transformed them into two stones. Right. So that's a sound chain transmission, by the way. Like, we was comparing how much accuracy there is in this. This is not a fact, but this is Aisha saying this is what we heard, right? True or not, that was common knowledge among Aisha's time. That was the story, right? So that was the world that they live in, right? But God alone knows if this is the truth, right? Um, and okay, Abu Talib said, where the pilgrims make their camels kneel, where the waters flow from Isaf and Na'ila, right, the wells. Every household had an idol in the house which they would worship. When a man was about to set out on a journey, he would rub himself against it, as he would about to ride off. Indeed, that was the last thing he used to do before the journey. When he returned from his journey, the first thing he did was to rub himself against it before he went into his family. When God sent Muhammad with the message of monotheism, Quraysh said, "Who would he make the gods into one God? That is indeed a strange proceeding. You're breaking norms. This is wrong, right? So just look at this, for example, the issue of alcohol, right? Do we, as Westerners, right, look at drinking of alcohol? So I remember, like, in England, I don't know how where if you see this in America or where you see this in America, because I don't really live, but like in England, this is what you'll see. If you live in, you will see on a Sunday morning, even a Saturday morning, like vomit on people's doorsteps. Why? Because people throw up, right? Like that's what you do. Um, you know, I grew up with people who are much older than me, like working with people much older than me. Everyone's going to nightclubs. Everyone's going to go to Ibiza, go and get as drunk as humanly possible, and just, do the most shameful things possible and come back and say, haha, that was fun, right? Like, is that actually something that's noble and beautiful and nice, or is it something really messed up, right? But yet, this is our culture. Don't challenge it. Right? This is what we do. Don't challenge it. Right? So people are addicted to their culture because so the culture is as how they identify themselves. Right? So you're going to break this a strange proceeding. This has no precedence to it. Right? Now, along with the Kaaba, the Arabs adopted tawaghit, which were temples which they venerated as they venerated the Kaaba. They had their guardians and overseers that used to make offerings to them as they did to the Kaaba and circumambulate them and sacrifice to them. Yet they recognized the superiority of the Kaaba because it was the temple and mosque of Abraham, Khalilullah, the intimate friend of Allah. Quraysh and Ibn Kinara had Al-Uzza in Nakhla. Its guardians and overseers were Bani Shayban of Sulaim, allies of Bani Hashim. And an Arab poet said, Asma was given a dowry the head of a little red cow, which a man of Bani Ghanm had sacrificed. He saw a blemish in her eye when he led her away to Al-Uzza's slaughter place and divided her into goodly portions. Right? So he's talking about slaughtering for Uzza. Their practice when they sacrificed was to divide the victim, i.e. the slaughtered animal, among the worshippers present. A ghabghab was the slaughter place where the blood was poured out. And then it has this is Azraqi. Okay, Azraqi. So what is he doing again? Is comparing other histories, right? If you read something like Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, you will see this, right? Someone like Edward Gibbon, he's writing Decline and Fall of the Empire, and he's basically comparing similar kind of things, right? There are Roman historians writing, they are not present at the time, but they are kind of like, again, like different, so people who are not present at that time but just recording things a century or less, and he's just comparing, right? None of the things are facts, but just comparing these things. The same kind of thing here, Al-Azraqi, right? So the Azraqi is going to contain hadiths, it's going to contain stories, it's going to contain all sorts of things, right? So that he's a person, Al-Azraqi. It's called Tarikh Mecca, the history of Mecca, or sorry, Akhbar Mecca, afwan, the accounts of Mecca. So it says Amr ibn Lu'ay put Al-Uzza in Nakhla and they had finished their Hajj and circumambulation of the Kaaba. They continued to be under taboo. They were still in Ihram. And he will use this word for Ihram, taboo, right? He's still in Ihram until they came to Uzza. So basically, it was now part of the rituals, right? So people, for example, talk about, visiting the Prophet ﷺ. Should you visit the Prophet ﷺ after Hajj? Is that a bid'ah or not? Right? When does it become a bid'ah? Is literally when you say you can't leave ihram until you visited the Prophet ﷺ. That's exactly what they did, right? Ritual, as opposed to the Prophet ﷺ telling us to visit him. We should do that, but it's not a ritual of Hajj, is it? So it is something that you should do, right? The Prophet ﷺ told us to do that, but you can't make it a ritual of Hajj. When you make it a ritual of Hajj, you now change the deen, right? Here in Malaysia, for example, they'll after Fajr they'll shake hands, right? You see, they all get up, they shake hands, they're walking around saying doing salawat, and they all shake hands after Fajr. Okay, so are you saying that the prayer doesn't finish? Like you're still inside the prayer until you've shaken hands? If that's the case, that's a bid'ah. You've now changed the deen. As opposed to the prayer is the prayer. That ritual has now ended. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. The prayer has ended. That is the end of the ritual. Now there's other adhkar, other good things that are established in Sharia. For example, it's good to shake hands in general. It's good to salawat the Prophet in general. But when you change the rituals, you have a problem, right? And this happens very much. And again, I hate to pick on Indo-Pak, but Indo-Pak, this is what happens, right? There's all these things like they actually, like the prayer doesn't finish until you make dua aloud. And it's like, no, the prayer is finished when you say Assalamu alaikum, right? Or like you have to do this or you have to do that. It's like, no, you don't have to do this or have to do that. That is not part of the ritual. These are two different things, right? So here, when they start changing the ritual, there's a problem. Obviously, worshipping a god is a problem as well. There they abandoned the pilgrim taboo and stayed a day beside it. It belonged to the tribe of Khuza'a. All Quraysh and Bani Kinana used to venerate Al-Uzza along with Khuza'a and all Mudar, right? The Arabs. Her Sadins, it's called a Sadin, who used to guard Hajab, were Bani Shayban of Bani Sulaim and the allies of Bani Hashim. So notice then each tribe has an honor by basically looking after this place. Alat began to belong to Thaqif in Ta'if, right? That's why somebody is called a Thaqafi. He's from Thaqif. Her overseers and guardians being Bani Mu'attib of Thaqif. So it's a different tribe. Manat, right? So we have Lat and Manat, that's the other goddess, was worshipped by Al-Aus and Khazraj and such people of Yathrib, so in Medina, as followed their religion by the seashore in the direction of Mushallal in Qudayd. And then again, adding from Al-Azraqi, he's saying Amr ibn Lu'ay set up Manat on the seashore near Qudayd. Azd, the tribe of Azd. So just for Arabs, there's three tribe names that often get mixed up. Azd, Asd, and Asad. Okay, so you're going to find people who are Azdi, and people who are Asdi, and people who are Asadi, right? And so just put that in your mind. You may that might come up later on. And Ghassan went to pilgrimage to it and revered it. When they had made the compass of the Kaaba and hastened from Arafah and completed the rites at Mina, they did not shave their hair, notice, until they got to Manat, to whom they would cry Labbaiki. Notice, they're doing the same thing. Ever at your service, right? They're now copying the worship of Allah to the Labbaik, the Talbiyah to this is Lat, right? No, Manat, sorry. Those who did so not those who did so did not go between Safa and Marwa to the place of the two idols Nahik Mujawid Ar-Rih and Mut'im ibn Tayr, right? They would leave that out. So again, the Prophet ﷺ is correcting, he's confirming certain things that some people have left out and correcting other things that people have left in. When the Prophet ﷺ says, "Khudu anni manasikakum," take your rituals of Hajj from me, I am now correcting these things. We don't do this, we do this. This clan of the Ansar used to begin the ceremony by hailing Manat, and then they went to the greater or little pilgrimage. They would not go under the shelter of a roof until they had completed it, right? So this is another thing. Don't go under the shelter of, cause yourself difficulty. Okay, so we see this in Christianity. We see this. These are many questions put to the Prophet ﷺ. The confusion between a reward of a sin being greater, the reward of of a good deed being greater because of difficulty versus intentionally causing harm. You see the difference, right? So, you know, in order to save Himyar's life, I had to not eat for 2 weeks and I had to climb a mountain. Obviously, it's not the same as saving his life. So the al-ajr ala qadr mashaqqa, the reward is commensurate with how much difficulty there was involved, right? Speaking up in front of a tyrant who could kill me is not the same as speaking up in front of a tyrant who could not kill me. Make sense? Right? But now we shift into intentionally causing harm, right? So, for example, in Christianity, I'm going to crawl to the Vatican on my knees and I'm going to bleed, right? I'm going to, those of you who watched, where's our Monty Python fans, right? Monty Python Holy Grail. Remember the monks with the pieces of wood? Hamyar?
I still haven't watched it yet.
Astaghfirullah. Okay, get out of my class. You're not, you only have to be in this class. I think we're going to put it in the registration page. Have you watched Monty Python and the Holy Grail? No. Okay, get out. No. Okay, so anyway, there's these monks and they're like they sing these hymns, da, 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 and then they go bang, they hit themselves on the head. All right. That's like part of their ritual. So it's called self-flagellation, right? Like it's one thing to sacrifice for the sake of Allah, the other thing to actually cause yourself pain. So this is a theme in Christianity and a theme for the Arabs, right? Don't take any shelter. It's very hot, right? So you might pass out, but it's like, oh, that's good, right? So there's a big difference between I was walking in the desert to go and save my child and I passed out 3 times. That's something beautiful versus I just stood in the sun and passed out because of the heat, right? So now these are twistings and twisting the Sharia, right? Many people do that. Many people, right? So if again we look at there's many bid'ah in our deen. It's like that. It's like you just twist things for no reason, right? I'll give you a very practical example. Is it good to be patient in marriage,
Yes.
right? So, for example, if my husband's abusive, for example, he comes home, beats me up every day or every other day, I should be patient, right? And that's good. MashaAllah, I have an ajr for being patient and keeping the family together, right? Right? That's I'm being patient to keep the marriage going. No, Habibti, wrong. You're allowing somebody, the Prophet ﷺ said, help your brother, whether he's oppressing or being oppressed. And they said, Ya Rasulullah, how can we help somebody who's being oppressed? They said, stop him from doing oppression. So you have to get out of that relationship, right? Okay, something happened once. Okay, maybe, possibly, but this is an abusive relationship. Or I'm in a non-functioning relationship and I'm not trying to fix it, right? But this is good. It's good to be patient. Wrong. You've misunderstood the situation. So yes, you have to be patient in order for this teamwork to work out, of course. You can't just have everything you want all the time. It doesn't work like that. That's not teamwork. But at the same time, you are not working in the marriage. He's not working in the marriage. She's not working in the marriage. No one's going anywhere. It's just a fake facade of a marriage. No one's doing anything. So patience means, yeah, right? So notice how we do the same thing, right? We do lots of these really weird things, right? We do lots of these really weird things where like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, so you go to a Christian and say, oh, what do you do? Oh, my son memorized the Quran. What does the Quran say? I don't know. So you memorize the whole Quran and you don't know what it says? Yeah. That's not how the Sahaba did things. 10 ayahs. What does it mean? How do we apply it? What does it mean? How do we apply it? Right? That's the Sahaba. As opposed to us, we're just interested in shakliyat, things, right? Taraweeh, this happened, that happened. We're not interested in actual the deen. So very important. I'm not trying to say all of this is shirk and we're all mushrikeen. I'm not saying that. But we do the same things. You get something, you twist it. Right. So the Christians had lots of these ideas. The Sahaba would frequently come up with things or volunteer difficulty. Right. Oh, it would be good if I, for example, became a eunuch, if I castrated myself, right? One of the Sahaba said, Ya Rasulullah, I want to do that. Like it would be good, right? Like it's good to like suffer. It's not. It's good to suffer for the sake of Allah, but you don't cause yourself to suffer in itself, right? One of the Sahaba, he said, Ya Rasul, like he made a vow, nadar, to not sit down, to not stand in the shade, to not speak, and to fast. So the Prophet ﷺ said, tell him to speak, tell him to sit down, tell him to take his shade, but hold his fast. So fasting is an act of worship. So you get more reward the harder it is. That's true. But standing in the sun is not an act of worship. Standing up is not an act of worship, right? Not speaking is not an act of worship, right? It's not you're going through a difficulty for nothing. You're just trying to cause difficulty itself, right? Does that make sense? So we shouldn't, that's not a noble thing at all. But you see the difference, Hadi. So they're saying I want to live further from the masjid because I get more reward. So there's a difference between I want to walk more or I want to walk to the masjid more. Does that make sense? So walking to the masjid is the goal, right? Walking to the masjid is the goal, not the difficulty. But because it's difficult, I get more reward, right? But it's not trying to cause pain in itself, right? So like self-flagellation, Shia, right? The Shia are mourning the death of Hussein, right? I have to cause myself pain. Is that something that Allah wants you to do? So to like hit yourself, make yourself bleed? It's not. But should you think about the efforts that Sayyidina Hussein did for us and put efforts into doing that 100%. So yes, you're going to live a difficult life. You're going to sacrifice things. You're going to think about his life, think about what he did. How did he do these things? I'm going to make myself life difficult, but it's not causing, just actively and directly causing myself pain. That's not an act of worship at all. Does it make sense? Wa alaykum assalam. Um, yeah, but the point is it's not just walk more. It is walk to the masjid more, right? That's like say I'm gonna go and give da'wah to the worst possible people. Habibi, why are you doing that? I want more ajr. But you are giving da'wah, right? You are giving da'wah. So you chose the worst possible people to give da'wah to, but you are giving da'wah, right? As opposed to I'm gonna go make my life socially difficult for no reason. Does that make sense, Hadi? Yeah. Okay. And don't do that. Don't make your life difficult, guys. Make your life easy. Okay. Life's complicated enough. Um, until they had completed it, right? When a man was under taboo as a pilgrim, he would not enter his house. If he needed something in it, he would climb the wall behind his house so that the door should not cover his head. When God brought Islam and destroyed the paganism, the doings of paganism, he sent down the command saying, ليس البر أن تأتوا البيوت من ظهورها ولكن البر من اتقى وأتوا البيوت من أبوابها. Right? Piety is not entering houses from the that's like doing weird things that you've invented, but rather piety is found ولكن البر and I'm mixing the two ayahs up. ولكن البر من اتقى, that's another verse, isn't it? I'm mixing the two verses up. Anyway, it either says piety or comprehensive goodness is manittaqa, found in that person who fears Allah, or it is and tattaqwa. I'm mixing the two verses up because they're kind of close. Uh, okay. So anyway, they would invent all these rituals. Manat belonged to Al-Aus. ولكن من اتقى جزاك خير, right? So notice the shift. Allah, they made all these weird rituals about this God and that God, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, no, there's one God, A, and B, it's a what's the word? It is a virtue ethics. Okay? Does anyone understand what that means, virtue ethics? Like it's good because of the virtue that it demonstrates, as opposed to it's good because of the technicalities, right? لكن البر من اتقى. Goodness is that very person who wards off the hellfire and fears Allah, right? So it's not about doing this and doing that. So people involved in shirk, it's good because oh, it's the February 13th, and the 13th Friday that has this power. So this is the time to do this spell, right? Magic and shirk and these things. It's not based on virtue. It's based on technicalities, right? And often religion becomes based on technicalities and not on virtue, and that's not right. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, no, your whole idea is off. It's virtue ethics, not about weird rituals that you invented, right? And rituals only have any meaning in as much as they demonstrate the virtue, right? So when you pray outwardly, but you don't pray inwardly, it doesn't mean anything, right? Khair. Manat belonged to Aus and Khazraj and Ghassan of Al-Azd, and some of the population of Yathrib and Syria who followed their religion. Manat was the seashore in the neighborhood of Mushallal in Qudayd. Dhul Khalasa, I'm not sure how it's pronounced here, I can't see the Arabic, belonged to Dos, Khath'am, and Bajila, and the tribes in the Tabala area. And then, okay, here Azraqi adds Amr ibn Lu'ay set up Al Khalasa in the lower part of Mecca. They used to put necklaces on it and bring gifts of barley and wheat. Right? And I mentioned that last week, seeing that in the church where I had my assembly at school. In the autumn, they would have, in fall, they would have like the offerings to the altar of pumpkins and whatever's harvested at that time of the year, apples and things like that, right? It's a kind of thing. So, if you want to see shirk, go to England, right? And just look at the gargoyles, look at the churches. It's really, really weird. I think on the right hand side of a church, there's a door for the devil to leave from. They have the gargoyles to protect the church from the devils, right? There's lots of really weird stuff like that. There's a painting of, Google it, a painting, I think, of Henry VIII, and he has like something like 50 different good luck charms on him. Like this protects him from this, and this protects him from that, and all these kind of weird things, like the rabbit's foot and this and that. It's like ridiculous. They poured milk on it. So notice the shift. Give milk to the poor for the sake of Allah. Give milk to the give milk give milk to Allah for the sake of Allah, right? Give milk to the poor for the sake of Allah. Then give milk to Allah for the sake of Allah. Then give milk to the idol for the sake of the idol. Notice the shift. It's like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, I don't need your meat. The meat is you slaughter for Allah to give to the poor. The whole idea is, why would you pour milk on the floor, for crying out loud? It's supposed to feed people, right? So notice the twist, right? What is it? So, and then again, look at our lives. Eid al-Adha. Take a picture of Eid al-Adha or Eid al-Fitr. What is Eid about? Feeding the poor. Eid al-Fitr, feed the poor. Eid al-Adha, feed the poor. Is that the spirit of Eid for us? That we all celebrate with the poor? We were all hungry with the poor. We all dressed humbly like the poor on Hajj, and we were all one with the poor. Is that the spirit? No, it's not the spirit of Hajj, of Eid anymore. Eid is about family. Eid is about uh, whatever, this food, that thing. It's not about the poor. It's not about the poor anymore. Even though Eid al-Fitr, you have to you feed the poor grain, and Eid al-Adha, you feed the poor meat. But it's not about the poor. That's not our focus. So we have twisted and changed the deen just like them, right? Not just like them, but like them. We have twisted the deen. May Allah protect us and give us insight. SubhanAllah. There's a quote I read some time ago, and I'll try and find it again. One of the Salaf said that. He said that if my teacher saw my students, they would not identify them as Muslims. They wouldn't see them as Muslims, right? They would be like, they would, you know. Who saw my post yesterday about the hijab? Did anybody see that? On Islam QA? I did on the Islam QA that I have. I did a somebody asked about bride, how the bride dresses in front of people, etc. They spoke about. Did anybody see that? Yeah. Let me post it here. Where was it? I'm just gonna put it on the whiteboard so we can see in the recording. Otherwise, it's kind of awkward. It's difficult to read like that. So the question was like on your wedding, like how can you dress in front of everybody, right? When you're not in front of when the bride's in front of the men, like how could she dress, right? So basically said there's no difference. There's no such thing as the fiqh of a wedding. Like it's not doesn't change anything. So anyway, if you look at this, okay, right? So it says many people, um, okay, erroneously believe that Muslim women, there's a typo there, are obliged to wear a hijab, right? So if you're going to ask people, do you have to wear a hijab? Say yes. What is a hijab, right? If I said, sister, can you buy me a hijab, right? She would know what that meant, right? It's a headscarf, right? Like when you say a hijab, it means a headscarf. So you say the sister, is she wearing a hijab? Yes. Is she wearing a hijab? No. Is she wearing a headscarf? Yes. Is she wearing a headscarf? No. The Quran does not tell us a woman to wear a headscarf. It doesn't. So the word hijab in Arabic actually means a partition, barrier, or parda. Verse 33, 53 demands that the mothers of the believers, the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, be segregated from men and only speak to them from behind a partition. So the idea of parda, the idea that there's women you will never see, right? And these are the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, and that's the word hijab. Okay, that's hijab. Okay, so we use the word hijab, they meant a partition, they meant total segregation. So you say, you know, does the average Muslim woman have to observe hijab? No, that's specific to the wives of the Prophet ﷺ. They don't have to be behind a curtain. They can just walk in the street, they can talk to men, right? It's you can go to a shop, etc. But with the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, you can't do that, right? There's something unique to them, okay? So then what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tell Muslim women to do? So as for normal Muslim women, their obligation is to wear a jilbab, right? That's the command, right? Or a khimar, or anything else that hides her form as these would. So the fuqaha, they say it does not have to be a jilbab, meaning something you buy from this country called jilbab, or something called a khimar that you buy from this country that the Irani khimar looks like this, but the Pakistani one looks like this, and the Algerian, it's not like that, right? The deen doesn't care about the wasa'il, how you do things. Is it made out of cotton? Is it made out of wool? Is it made out of plastic? Is it made out of, nobody, like, it's not relevant, right? That's not how the deen works, right? So something that does that thing, right? So anything else that hides her form as these would. So it's not a head covering, right? So can you understand this conversation? Like we're having a conversation with my daughter, should I wear a hijab, should I not? So mashallah, she's wearing hijab, but the clothes are a bit, still a bit tight, but khalas, I'm working on that, right? Aslan, to begin with, the Sharia is not asking a Muslim woman to wear a hijab, right? It's not. So it's like, oh yeah, wear a hijab, right? Put something on your head. That's not what we're talking about. So as for merely covering her head while wearing tight clothes, clothes that do not hide her form, this is a sinful and blameworthy innovation. It's a bid'ah and a distortion of the teachings of Islam. It's not even right, you know? So there's one sister who never wears a hijab because she's at home or she works with sisters or she has her own private island, you know? She just and so she has something she wears when she prays, and that's about it. And she's totally fine. Whereas the other lady was like, sister, like, you know, If you turn around, you can see a lot of things, you know? And so you just do a twirl, like you can see a lot of things of your body you're not that's not what the Sharia is asking you to do. Asking you to cover your form, right? So everything apart from the face and hands, and everything apart from face and hands, the form is covered, right? That's the whole idea. Not cover your head, right? So we do the same things all the time, right? The same things all the time, right? So, brother, you had a huge argument. Like I'm gonna have an argument, right? Next week or whenever it is, I have a whole talk on 20 rakahs or whatever, right? MashaAllah, Sheikh Fareed, 20 rakahs or 8 rakahs, 20 rakahs or 8 rakahs of Taraweeh. Fareed, did you cry ever in Ramadan? Ever? Was there any time that you cried in Ramadan when you heard a verse of the Quran? No. Okay, then forget. Why are we even having this conversation then? What does it even mean, right? This is Sahaba look at you like you're just a weirdo, right? It's like you're having a debate. Which seat number are you going to be on? Are you A5 or A4? A5, A4. And then somebody says, Habibi, you've missed the plane. Say, it doesn't matter. So you don't mind that you've missed the plane, but you do mind which number you're supposed to be on. Yeah, you're retarded. I'm sorry. You have like a mental problem because you're caring about is it seat A1 or A4 or A5, but you've already missed the plane. So you've missed the whole point of Taraweeh. Reading, hearing the Quran, being changed by the Quran, and you're having an argument 20 or 8. It's like ridiculous. It's totally fine if you cry and you're affected by the Quran and it all makes sense. And now you want to go to the next stage, which is this 8, 20 or 8? That's fine. I don't have a problem, right? It is an important issue, I believe. But it's like, where are you? You know, where are you? What's the reference point, right? So we lose the reference point. That's what happens. Totally losing the reference point, right? On Eid, on hijab, on marriage, on having kids, on responsibilities, on prayer, right? How many rakats, right? What do I say? You know, again, like I see this, right? I may have shared this with you last week, but my son came back and like, Daddy, you never taught us about the niyyat in fasting. I'm like, what do you mean? So yeah, the ustaz today at school, he said, you have to do the niyyat. Like, what's the niyyat? They're like, oh, you have to say this, 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 this. I intend to fast tomorrow, the obligatory fast of Ramadan tomorrow morning. Da 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 da. It's like the whole spiel that you have to do. And I'm like, Habibi. He said, and then my son was like really upset. It's like, we never fasted in the past. You basically made us fast for no reason. Like it didn't count. I said, it's not like that. The reason why they teach you to say something is to help you remember what you're doing. That's not the actual thing itself. They're just saying, remind yourself, I'm praying dhuhr, da 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 da. So just help you process it. You don't actually have to say anything, right? But and then imagine, and then they say it in Arabic, so then you don't even know what it means. So it's an activity to help you remember in a language you don't understand. So that's actually pointless, like totally pointless, right? So there's so many things we always have to look at our deen, like where are we totally losing the plot and doing what the Jews, what the Christians and the pagans did, right? We are this country, we look after the Kaaba. That gives us moral authority, really? Isn't that exactly the Quraysh? أجعلتم سقاية الحاج وعمارة المسجد الحرام كمن آمن بالله واليوم الآخر, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, have you equated the honor of looking after the Kaaba and giving water to the Hujjaj? Have you made that equivalent to actually being a believer and doing what is right? So we're this country and we look after the Haram and we are in charge of the Mecca and Medina. That gives you moral authority? No, it doesn't. That's exactly how the Quraysh thought, and that's exactly what the Quran corrected. But yet we have the same thing, right? Whatever we do in that country must be right because that's where the Kaaba is. May Allah forgive us, right? May Allah forgive us and give us insight and quality over quantity, right? May Allah protect us. Khair. So pouring milk on the floor when the people are starving, right? So they poured milk on it and sacrificed to it and hung ostrich eggs on it. Amr set up an image on a Safa called Nahik, Mujawid, Arih, and on Marwa called Mut'im al-Tayr, right? So then again, the issue of the Prophet ﷺ showing people إن الصفا والمروة من شعائر الله فمن حج البيت أو اعتمر فلا جناح عليه أن يطوف بهما. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling people Safa and Marwa, these are not weird bid'ah that the mushrikeen invented. This is real. So yes, it's become an idol of that. It has this idol here and that idol there. Remove those things, but Safa and Marwa are actually part of the deen. Right? Fels belonged to Tayi', those hard by in the mountains of Tayi', Salma and Aja'. Himyar and the Yemenites had a temple in Sana'a called Ri'am. Ruda' was a temple of Bani Rabi'a ibn Ka'ab ibn Sa'ad ibn Zayd, Manat ibn Tamim, and Al-Mustawghir ibn Rabi'a ibn Ka'ab ibn Sa'ad, when he destroyed it in the time of Islam, he said, I smashed Ruda' so completely that I left it a black ruin in a hollow. Right. So Dhul Ka'abat said, belonged to Bakr and Taghlib, the two sons of Wa'il and Iyad in Sindad. Of al-A'sha of Ibn Qais and Ibn Tha'laba said, between Al-Khawarnaq and Sadir and Bariq, the temple of Dhul Ka'abat of Sindad. Right? So just going through all of these different things. So it says Kinana had four sons, and Nadar, Malik, Abd Manat, and Milkan. Nadar's mother was Barra ibn Mur, ibn Ud, ibn Tabikha, ibn Yats, ibn Mudar. And the sons were by another woman. Okay, it is said that Quraysh got their name from their gathering together after they separated. And for gathering together, they may be expressed by taqarrush, to come together. Wallahu alam. Another Ibn Kinana had two sons, Malik and Yakhlud. Malik's mother was Atika ibn Adwan ibn Amr ibn Qais ibn Ailan, but I do not know whether she was Yakhlud's mother or not. Malik ibn Nadar begat Fihr ibn Malik, his mother being Jandala ibn Harith ibn Mudad al-Jurhumi. And then Ta, who's Ta? Tabari, right? So now
Okay.
again, we're confirming. So we have Ibn Hisham's addition from, I think it was a Bakkai, I think it was, if I remember correctly, from Bakkai, from Ibn Ishaq. And so now we have another chain which goes with Tabari, and it sometimes has more information. So there was a war between Fihr and Hassan ibn Abdul Kalal ibn Madhub Dhu Hurath al-Himyari, who had come from the Yemen with the tribesmen, meaning to take back to Yemen the stones of the Kaaba so as to divert the pilgrimage to Yemen. Notice everyone's trying to use religion for their power, right? He got as far as Nakhla, raided cattle, closed the door, the roads, but he was afraid to enter Mecca. Why? Because it was the sacred place. You can't do that. When Quraysh, Kinana, Khuzaymah, Asad, and Judham, and other unknown elements of Mudar perceived this, they marched against them under the leadership of Fihr ibn Malik, who is Quraysh. Right? A sharp engagement followed in which Himyar were defeated and Hassan was taken prisoner by Fihr's son Al-Harith. Among those killed in battle with the grandson Qais ibn Ghalib bin Fihr. Ghassan remained a prisoner for 2 years till he paid his ransom. Then he was released and died on the way to Yemen. Fihr begat four sons, Ghalib, Muharib, Al-Harith, and Asad, their mother being Layla ibn Sa'ad ibn Hudayl ibn Mudrika. So now Ghalib had two sons, Lu'ay and Taym. Their mother being Salma ibn Amr al-Khuzai. Taym were called Banu Adram. Banu al-Adram. Lu'ay ibn Ghalib had four sons, Ka'b, so Ka'b ibn Lu'ay ibn Ghalib, right? Amir, Sama, and Auf. The mother of the first three were Mawiyah. ibn Ka'b ibn Qayn ibn Jasad al-Quda'a. And now the story of Sama ibn Lu'ay. Sama ibn Lu'ay went forth to Oman and remained there. It is said that Amir ibn Lu'ay drove him out because of a quarrel between them, and Sama knocked out Amir's eye. In fear of Amir, he went to Oman. The story goes that while Sama, sorry, his name is not Sama, was riding on his camel, she lowered. Oh, I skipped something, didn't I? Ah, whoops. I skipped a whole page. That's why I was confused. My apologies. So we got to come to him. So now these verses in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forbidden the Bahira and Sa'iba and Wasila and Hami. So what are these things in the Quran? Uh, yeah. The Bahira is the filly, the the young the young camel slash the young camel of the Sa'iba. And the Sa'iba, the she camel, gives birth to 10 fillies without an intervening cult. Uh-huh. So there was this is a female, right? A filly is a female, right? So when a she camel gives birth to 10 females in a row, she's considered sacred, right? This is a sacred thing. So the Bahira is the filly and the Sa'iba is the mother. So basically, this is mother. She gave birth to all females and there's no male in between. So this is now something sacred, right? She's a holy camel. She is set free, is never ridden, her hair is not shorn, and only a guest is allowed to drink her milk, right? Because the guest is sacred. Notice that, right? So there's key things. There's a basis for it, right? Like there's an idea there that makes sense, right? But it's all off, right? You know, a toast to Hemir, right? So Hemir achieved something for an organization. Let's do a toast. So yeah, but you know, why are you drinking alcohol on my behalf? Okay. So why do you think alcohol is sacred for so many people? Why would you do a toast? What's important about alcohol? So imagine you turn up, you travel like in Batuta, you travel from Morocco and you turn up in China. Okay. What's the alcohol of China? The rice what's it called? The rice wine, what's it called?
Sake,
What's it called?
sake.
Sake, okay, whatever, sake or sake, right? So what's a safer thing to do? Drinking water from China that you're not accustomed to, or drinking alcohol? What's safer for you? Alcohol, right? So alcohol is not there to party and do shameful things. Alcohol is about survival, preserving things, right? It's a very important thing, right? So notice everything in our culture, there's something good tied into it, right? There's good tied into it. There's nothing bad. Shaitan, right? When Shaitan refused to do sujood to Adam, was that pure stupidity and evil, or was it mixed? Logically made sense, right? Like I am better than him, so you know there's some good in it, right? There's some logic or some good in what we're doing, but it's off, right? This is how things work, right? It's off. There's something off in it, right? So here it's like, oh, this sacred she camel. Did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, stipulate this? No. But now she's a sacred she camel. You have to set her free. You can't do this, you can't do that, and nobody can drink her milk apart from a guest. She gives birth to a filly after that, its ear is split and it is allowed to go its way with its mother, not ridden, hair unshorn, and only a guest may drink her milk in the case of her mother. Such is the Bahira and the filly of Sa'iba. The Wasila is an you. Right? Why is it saying an you? Why didn't it say a you? What is a you, by the way? What kind of sheep? Male or female? Female sheep, right? A ewe, right? But notice it says an you because it begins with an E, right? Like it, so this is kind of our author is writing probably more than 50 years ago. And you can say things like an hundred, right? An hotel, right? He checked into an hotel because so and so usually we pronounce you as if it was with a Y, right? So you don't treat it as a vowel. But so a wasila, sorry, a wasila what is a ewe which has 10 twins in successive births without a male lamb intervening. Uh, she is made a wasila. They used to they use expression wasalat. So she connected. She connected one after another, right? Any ewes which she gives birth to after that belong to the males, except that if one of them dies, all share in eating it, both males and females. So these are these rituals that they have, right? So again, there's a difference between convention, right? Like somebody does something like in Yemen they do this, in Pakistan they do this, in England they do this. There's conventions, but as long as you don't make them halal and haram, right? This is exactly what the Quran blames them for. ولا تقولوا بألسنتكم هذا حلال وهذا حرام تفترون على الله الكذب. Don't say with your empty tongues, all right? This is halal and this is haram, right? Cutting out, tefteruna literally means to cut out leather. Like you're cutting out lies about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So you have a convention, hey, you know, is it haram to say, for example, hey, the 100th customer gets a free coffee? That's okay. But now it's haram for you not to do that. It's not haram or halal, Habib. You can do whatever you want. I have no idea. Hadi. I like sheep though, it's quite nice. Okay, the Hami is a stallion who is a sire of 10 successive fillies, females, without an intervening colt, male. His back is taboo, and he is not ridden. You can't ride him. His hair is not shorn, and he is left to run among the camels. Huh? To mount them? What? Oh, he is. It's not a. He's not a stallion. He is. We wouldn't call him a stallion. We call it a male camel is called a bull. I don't know why he's calling it a stallion. Yeah, so it's a camel again, it's not a horse, right? Just a question and a practical question. In the desert, is it easy to have horses in the desert? They need a lot of water, right? Sheep as well, they're not very easy. So the easy animals to have in the desert are goats and camels, right? So yeah. Goats are very hardy, sheep are not. Okay. So he's called the Hami, right? So a stallion meaning a camel bull, right? Or camel stud, right? Beyond that, they not used to make made of him. When God sent Prophet the Apostle Muhammad, he revealed God has not recognized this, has not put. Ma ja'ala. Ja'ala is a tricky word in Arabic. It means to like a point, to put in place. Allah has not put in place Bahira and Sa'iba and Was and Ahami. But those who disbelieve invent a lie against Allah. But most of them do not know it, right? And again, they say, what is in the wombs of these sheep is reserved for our males and prohibited to our wives in the Quran. But if it is born dead, then they share it. He will repay them for such a division. Verily, he is knowing and wise. Don't do that, right? Say you have considered what provision God has sent down to you. And again, what do we do today? Right? I've heard this with my own ears. Somebody saying a Sahih hadith is a hadith that makes sense. That means you're inventing the deen. Whatever makes sense to you is the deen, right? How many people, educated people, will be like, no, the dean's like this, the dean's like that, their own opinion, right? So same thing, right? She should have this right. He should have this right. This looks right to me. Well, revelation. Look at revelation, right? This is a very, very important thing, right? A very, very important thing. Something called revelation. If what Allah has said is good, and what Allah has said is bad, end of story, right? You have to be very, very careful. If it's not outward kufr, it's the mentality of kufr, meaning you just making things up and based on your own value system, which is wrong. They say, what isn't, etc. He say, have you considered what provision God has sent down to you? You have made some of it taboo and some of it permitted. Say, God has given you permission or to invent lies against God. And again, of the sheep too and the goats too. Say, he prohibited the two males or the two females, or what the wombs of the two females contain? Inform me with knowledge if you speak the truth. And of the camels too, and of the cattles too. Say, he prohibited to you the two males or the two females, or that which the wombs of the two females contain? Or were you witnesses when God enjoined this upon you? You've made up all these rules. Who is more sinful than those who invent a lie, right? Cut out a lie against Allah and make men err without knowledge. So don't speak without knowledge. Verily, Allah, God will not guide the wrongdoing people. Right? And then he goes through the lineage, and so we'll start here, inshallah, from next week. Okay, any questions or queries? So very important. Read the Bible, read the Sira, look at history, learn things, look at yourself. Where are things off? Right? There's a lot of things that are really, really off. Right? We've invented things on our heads that are really not there. Oh, yeah, cool. And remember the beginning lesson. What did we say in the beginning of the lesson? Who can remember? Who can remind me about tayammum?
Find good company.
Find good company. Fight for good company. Don't find it, fight for it. Right? You have to. God helps those who help themselves. You have to roll up your sleeves and be like, yeah, Allah. Again, for myself, that's what I did. I was like, literally, I cannot get up for tahajjud. I'm a lazy sod. Right? I'm lazy. So what do? Like, I literally go and spend the night at my friend's house. Like, please wake me up. I won't be able to wake up. Right? Help me. Right? I need good people around me. Very, very important. It's not a small thing. When you find yourself leaving Islam, when you find yourself continually missing prayers, thinking doubts about, it's like, why is it you're surrounded by fools? Right? Monkey see, monkey do. So it's very important. Physically surround yourself with good people. Really, really important. And your kids, look, when my kids go to school, who are they going to be at the school with? Who surrounds them? Right? Really important thing. Okay, وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله قوا أنفسكم وأهليكم نارا وقودها الناس والحجارة. Right? Protect yourselves and your families. This is the number one job of the dad. Are you protecting yourself, your wife, and your kids from crazy ideas? Right? If you don't make any money, who cares? If a robber comes in your house and steals something, who cares? If the deen isn't happening in your house, a lot of people care. Allah's going to care, and you're going to care, and everyone's going to care because it's a big deal. Right? May Allah protect us. Sallallahu alaihi wa sallam.